listeners and viewers, welcome to the Real Stuff Podcast. This morning, on our featured guest segment, we have a very important topic, and we have an expert who will take us through. This morning, we welcome Miss Josephine Roach, who will speak on breast cancer. She knows a lot about breast cancer. She's also a breast cancer survivor. Also have with me this morning my co-host, Miss Pamal. So, Josephine, could you tell the listeners a little about yourself and your journey? So we kick it off.
Oh, well, thank you, Courtney. I'm happy to be back on the Real Stuff podcast. I am a 5-year breast cancer survivor today. So 5 years ago, October the 12th, 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that's sort of fitting when I looked to see we were going to have our podcast today. I thought, wow. So it's a celebration. A 5-year mark is significant in the breast cancer community when you are diagnosed with breast cancer because you want to get there because a reoccurrence typically occurs in the first 5 years. It does occur later, but so getting to the 5-year mark for me and not having a reoccurrence is a celebration.
Yes.
So I'm really happy about that for
Happy
today.
for you. Happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years ago. And, at the time, I had been involved with the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Prior to getting breast cancer, I was a volunteer and worked on their planning committee to plan their race. I was a physician assistant and I wanted to do some volunteer work to give back. So I joined the foundation. And then a couple years into my volunteer work, I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'll tell you, being involved with the organization, attending the Komen Detroit Race for the Cure made me realize I was going to be okay. So being involved with the organization prior to getting breast cancer made a big difference, I think, in my recovery and being diagnosed. I had a lot of support, and that was really important. So I went through, and my breast cancer was found on my yearly mammogram. In 2016, there was nothing there, and then in a year later, in 2017, my breast cancer was found. And I couldn't feel it. A lot of people think, oh, did I miss it? Did I not feel it? But it was 1.7 centimeters in size, and I could not feel it. And I went on, it was staged at stage 1, but an aggressive type of breast cancer. It was called triple positive, and that means it was positive for estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. And so I went on to go, had 12 rounds of chemotherapy going once a week. And then after that, and also received an antibody treatment to fight the HER2. And also then had radiation after that, about 25 rounds of radiation. And I just finished my oral medication, tamoxifen. So it's a pretty long journey, 5 years. Some people, depending on their diagnosis, obviously have different treatments. So I'm happy to say that I'm cancer free today. And I really believe that early detection with mammogram is what saved my life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So tell us what happened when you got the diagnosis?
Well, it was an interesting story. When I was diagnosed, I had gone and had my mammogram and they had saw something on it. So I had to go, return and have a breast biopsy. And I had to wait for the results. So my husband and I decided we were going to take a little trip, a little weekend trip here. I'm from Michigan, and we were going to go up north, we call it, to Petoskey, Michigan. And unfortunately, on the drive to Petoskey, I got the phone call from the nurse from the breast surgeon's office, and she gave me the bad news that my biopsy had came back positive for breast cancer. And that sort of put a damper on the trip. We did not go. We turned around. We went back home because I just was devastated. So we went home and just sort of knew that we had to start thinking about, the next steps for my treatment.
And what happened after that? I mean,
So after that, I met with the breast surgeon, and he laid out what was to come. The tests that were going to occur. I needed certain other tests. He said that I would need a lumpectomy. So that would be removing part of my breast and the tumor. And then he discussed a little bit of the treatment. But at that point, like I had said, I had been affiliated with the Komen Foundation. And at that time, back then, we were also affiliated with the Carmanos Cancer Institute, which is in downtown Detroit. So I had a lot of people there that I knew. So I decided to get a second opinion and go downtown. It's about, an hour from my house, but I didn't mind. So I went down there for a second opinion. The second surgeon said virtually the same thing that the first surgeon said, with the exception of maybe some different testing. But I felt much more comfortable with the second opinion and the second surgeon downtown. So I went ahead and she did my lumpectomy. And that was a month after they had diagnosed it. So on November 12th, I had my lumpectomy of 2017. And then I started treatment in January of 2018. So that was sort of how it went. And the treatment's not easy. I started with, like I said, 12 rounds of chemotherapy going once a week. The type of chemotherapy I had was called Taxol, and it had side effects, but I was lucky because I know other people get real sick and nauseous, and luckily I didn't. However, I did lose my hair, and the oncologist had told me on day 17 of your treatment, you're going to start losing your hair. And I thought, how could he really target day 17, right? But I'll tell you, he was exactly right. And I did start losing my hair, and that was very traumatic as a woman, to lose your hair. And that was hard. That side effect was hard, and I had other side effects. I had drying of the my nose, real dry at night. I'd have like blood clots almost coming out of my nose. I'd always have to go to the bathroom, and so that was tough. But I followed what the doctors said. They said, you really need to drink water, hydrate. So once you have that chemo, get it through you. So I drank a lot of water. They told me to exercise. It was my goal every day to walk at least 20 minutes. It was winter here in Michigan, but I just walked in circles around my basement, and I did it. And so I was happy to say I did it every single day through treatment. And then, like I said, I went on to radiation. I tolerated the chemo pretty well, but I get what people call neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, meaning it affects your nerves. So my hands got a little numb, and my feet had some numbness and tingling. And that progressed as the treatment went on, so much so that one treatment they had to stop because I could barely walk. It was like walking in cement. So that was a bad side effect. But then once they stopped it, it reversed, but not totally. Unfortunately, I still have what's called peripheral neuropathy on the tips on my toes. So it gets painful, and there's numbness involved with that. But if that's the only thing that I have to, worry about, and I'm still here, I'm okay with that. And then I went on to radiation after that, and radiation wasn't as bad as chemotherapy, but it had its own hurdles because it was different. They manipulate your breast. You don't feel that comfortable. People are in the room looking at you, and it was a little unnerving. The machine is large and you hear this ticking noise, and I would just pray. I would pray when I know when that radiation was going on, and that went on for, I believe I had 20, close to 25 rounds of that. I went every day, 5 days a week. But I tolerated that well. I had just a little bit of skin burning, just right at the end, a little bit of cracking, but that I tolerated well. And then I went on to start taking oral medication after that, and that went on for 5 years. But again, having problems and side effects to the tamoxifen. I got blood clot in one leg. And unfortunately, most recently, just a couple months ago in June, one of the side effects, believe it or not, to tamoxifen, one of the rare side effects of taking the oral medicine tamoxifen is uterine cancer. And as a female and being 55, I was already in menopause, and I experienced some vaginal bleeding, and that should not occur when you're in menopause. So I pretty much knew what was going on. So I got myself to the doctor, the gynecologist, right away, and they tested, and I did have two polyps in my uterus. So they went ahead and took that all out, and tested it, and thankfully it was not uterine cancer. I'm sure if it would have progressed and it wasn't found, it probably would have progressed to that, but I was fortunate. They took me off the tamoxifen, and because I was so close to 5 years, I made the decision not to continue any other medication.
Wow. So in all of this, what was the reaction of your family?
It was, I think everyone was obviously surprised. When you get a diagnosis of breast cancer, for myself, of course, the first thing that comes into your mind with a breast cancer diagnosis is that, am I going to die? So that for me was very scary. My husband, it was very difficult for him in the beginning. He was in denial, and as we went on to all the doctor's appointments and he came with me, it sunk in, the reality sunk in that his wife of 25 years had breast cancer. And when he actually came to my first chemo treatment, that really hit him to see me in such a vulnerable state. So it was hard for him. And as time went on through the treatments, he was better. He understood things better, and tried to be, supportive, and so, but it was difficult. And then, I had an elderly mother at the time when I was diagnosed. I was 50 years old and my mother was 90, and she had severe disability. My mother did, and I didn't want to burden her, but I knew I was one of her caregivers, and I knew I had to let her know, because obviously I had to go to treatment. I was going to lose my hair. I was going to start looking different. And having that conversation with my mother was a hard conversation, because she remembered. Her mind was good. I mean, physically, she couldn't do a whole lot, but her mind was good. And she remembered, she kept track of all of us, and she said, well, did you get that result from that mammogram? And she kept on asking me, and I kept on putting it off. And then finally I thought, I have to tell her, I'm going to start treatment and she needs to know. So I told her. When I told her I had breast cancer, of course, shock. But then I explained the type of treatment, and that if I, did everything the doctors told me, I reassured her I would be fine. And she was okay with that. She was okay with that. My mother is, um, she's a strong person, and she really, really showed me what strength, perseverance, and faith do. She was really represented that very well. So she was, very, showed me how to be. So that was good. And then my siblings, they were very helpful. Again, not really wanting to talk a lot about it, but always there to help. You know, my sister made me some meals, and my brother was very supportive. Had come to one of the treatments with me, and of course, family and friend, and then friends. So many friends and support from even people I didn't even know. My husband's co-workers. It was in my Coleman family, the people that rallied around me and that I could turn to ask, hey, what am I going to expect? You know, that was my Coleman family, and that was a great comfort too.
Hmm. So now that you're, cancer free, I see you have been putting in a lot of work in a number of organizations to support breast cancer awareness. Can you tell us a little about that?
So I, belong to the Coma Detroit Planning Committee. I'm the chairperson of the Detroit Komen Leadership Council. So we organize the race every year in downtown Detroit because we want to raise funds. We raise funds for research. We're raising funds also. We're helping. There's a hotline number that you can call in as a breast cancer patient. They navigate you through, they give you to a navigator will navigate you through if you need help getting a mammogram, getting to treatment all the way through, and they follow you through. So that's the two good things about Komen, the money going to research to find a cure, and I told you that I was HER2 positive, and the treatment I received for that was called an antibody treatment called Herceptin. Now, Herceptin was discovered over 20 years ago out in California by a doctor, and his research was funded, on a nonprofit organization. And if it had not been for that drug, Herceptin, I wouldn't be talking to you today. People were dying over 20 years ago with the type of cancer that I had because there was no specific treatment. So we've come a long way in 20 years. Thank goodness that, the money raised helped him support, and he was able to find a cure, basically something that's going to help prolong your life. So that's what the foundation does that I belong to, Susan G. Komen Foundation. And, we try to rally and support people. And that's what's really, really important. And, just the statistics, 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer in their lifetime, 1 in 8. So if you think
Wow.
about that, that could be your mother, your sister, your brother, your friend, anybody. Again, men get breast cancer too. The statistics are less, are more in that. It's 1 in, I believe, 200, 800 and something, but don't quote me on that. So men have to worry about it too. And the other important point is that most breast cancers are not hereditary. So let me repeat that. Most breast cancers are not hereditary. Okay. Only 15% of breast cancers are hereditary, meaning that you have a primary, family member, a mother, and in your family that maybe carries that gene that we talk about, the BRCA1, the BRCA2, and now there's even more genes that they know of that if you're a carrier, the likelihood of you getting breast cancer is high if a first degree relative has it or carries the gene. But that's only 15%. So that means 85% of breast cancers are not hereditary. So that means we're all at risk. The top 2 risk factors of getting breast cancer are number 1, getting older, which is everyone, and number 2, being a woman. Those are the 2 top risk factors of getting breast cancer. Those are the top 2 I had. So now you can sort of understand the importance of these yearly mammograms.
And where have they reached now with the research?
I'm
What are they?
sorry?
Where have they reached now with the research? What are they saying?
So the research, it's better, because they're finding targeted therapies for specific breast cancers. There's not just one type of breast cancer out there. And I learned that quickly as soon as I was diagnosed because I started researching it. There are multiple types of breast cancers, multiple treatments. People say, well, why isn't there a cure? Well, that's why there's so many different types where our genetic makeup, our genes are different in each and every one of us. That's why it takes so long to find medications. And if you follow trials, like I was talking about the Herceptin, from inception to get through all the trials to actually getting to the patient was, I believe, 17 years. So it takes time, it takes money to develop these medications, but some new medications are constantly coming out, and new treatments. We're going, toward almost a, my treatment was an antibody treatment. We're talking about immunizations. They're doing studies and working on that maybe someday we can have an actual immunization against different types of breast cancer. So we're definitely making strides in the research arena.
Oh, wonderful. Pam, you want to come in for a minute for me? Let me just.
Yes. Wow. It's a good story. I have friends who have survived breast cancer. My mother survived uterine cancer for like 30 odd years. She passed in 2020, and as far as we know, it was not from cancer. My father died of cancer. So this this program is just reminding me of all the people that I know who have been through this. Question, two questions. For survivors, what do you recommend? It seems from what you have said that be on the alert and take action when things, anything seems out of place.
Right.
The question is, would you also recommend simply just trying, well, it would apply to people without cancer, really, just trying to maintain generally good health, which
Right.
allows you to survive blows that come at you.
Sure. You know, Unfortunately, we don't know what causes all these cancers, because if we did, then obviously they would be able, to find a cure. And I'm sorry to hear of all your family members that have had cancer. Um, you have to, with the different types, I would say the answer to the first question about, what I would say to survivors, yeah, and to anybody not even having, breast cancer, be diligent with your yearly mammograms, know your body, as you should know your body. Are there any changes? Are there any changes in your breast? Meaning anything. Is there a lump there that wasn't there before? Is there nipple discharge? Is there some puckering? Is there an inverted nipple? Anything that's different, you do a self breast exam once a month, and that's everyone. All of us should take a look in the mirror, take a look at what we look like. Is that the same every month? In the shower, I recommend, doing a self breast exam. If you are a woman and are still having your monthly cycle, then I say a week to 2 weeks after the cycle, go ahead and, feel around on your breast. You can go online and you'll find self breast exam and it'll show you, but also make sure you go under your arm, because you want to make sure there's lymph nodes under there. And that's the first place that breast cancer spreads. So sometimes you can feel if there's one of those lymph nodes is, bigger. So those are things that you can do just to maintain, whether you have breast cancer or not, and you continue doing those things either way. And also, as far as, health, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, unfortunately, it took breast cancer for me to really look at my health. Okay. And, I wasn't, I thought I had a pretty good diet, but when I actually looked at it, I had a medical oncologist, but then I also sought out an integrative medicine oncologist. And she took a look at, her associate took a look at my diet, and then the other doctor took a look at supplements. So when I went to them, they really looked at me as a whole, mentally. They also had, a psychologists, counselors that you could talk to when you're going through this, and took extensive blood work to see where there was some deficiencies, and then recommended certain supplements, but more importantly, looking at my diet. And so when I met with one of the doctors, over a year's time, we slowly changed my diet, and I eat a lot of organic fruits and vegetables. If organic's too expensive, you don't have to buy organic, but obviously half your plate should be fruits, vegetables. And the other half, is protein. And I would I pretty much just eat fish, a lot of vegetarian meals. I stay away from chicken. And rarely eat red meat. And I exercise, 5 days a week. And I stay away from some harmful things that we're not sure of, right? You hear about aluminum in, the antiperspirants, even though they say that's really not probably a cause, but I do use aluminum-free deodorants, and all my skin, hair products, anything that goes on my skin is paraben-free. Okay, because it's been shown that studies show that parabens can are suggestive of cancer causing. So I those are the things that are more preventative. And moving forward, I mean, we can only do so much, and then it's in God's hands. You can only do so much. But I think by me doing these things, I feel better, that at least I've taken control of my own health. And I think anybody that I give these suggestions to, it's not going to hurt, right? It's not going to hurt to eat good, eat healthy and exercise, right? Who's going to tell you that's not good? So that's going to be good for you. So those are some of the recommendations I would, say. And
Mhm.
did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. I do lots of those things. The 5 day thing now. I have to get on that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like chicken, I absolutely love chicken. But for many years now, I don't cook at home. I don't cook any kind of meat at home in order to cut down, to not have too much. But I will eat chicken sometimes, and I will eat fish sometimes, and the good old oxtail, I'll have it sometimes, though I haven't had it in about a year. So I find myself eating those things less and less. So yeah, the 5 day, yeah. But yeah, man, that's great advice.
Hmm.
Thank you very much for that. And honestly, I'm so happy that you can be a survivor and you can be here to help to advise others on your survival journey. That's just great.
Thank you. Yeah,
And
I mean,
yeah,
yes, yeah. And it's just so prevalent, unfortunately. Like I said, the statistic 1 in 8 to me is always very shocking, but it almost seems like it's even more. Just in the
yeah,
last 2 weeks, even in the last 2 weeks, I'll be talking to people, and I do a lot of advocacy work. And when I'm talking about breast cancer and talking about my story, just yesterday, I was at the grocery store. Okay. And I was checking out. I asked one of the women for some help. I was looking for something specific. And well, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about, I wrote a book, and I'm going to have a book signing tomorrow. And I was buying some food, and drink for the book signing. And I'm, asking this woman to help me find something. And then she said, well, what's your book about? And I said, well, it's about my breast cancer journey. And then she actually was the woman who checked me out. And there was a woman packing, and she said, oh, she said, my aunt is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Um, then what did I do? I went to the post office. I went to the post office and I was shipping my books. And I go there quite often. Finally, the clerk said to me, "What book did you write? What are you mailing?" And I told her, I said, "Well, it's about my journey and my breast cancer journey." And then the clerk next to her, who has waited on me numerous times, said, "I'm an 11-year breast cancer survivor."
Mm.
So I went out to the car and got each of them a book. And then the clerk said, "I would like to get a book for the woman who works in the back here. She's currently in treatment." Very prevalent, very prevalent.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That's
was,
so many things. Yeah, that's so many things that seem to put us at risk. So all we can do is do the best we can, learn as much as we
that's
can.
all you have to, that's all you can do.
Yeah,
And then, like I said, we can only do so much. And then I believe God will, you know,
yeah,
has to intervene, you know.
definitely.
So tell us about your book.
So great. Yeah, I have it. Well, you probably can't see it. I have it behind me. I don't know if you can see if I put it here. But anyway, it's sort of hard to see. But this is my book. It's called Josephine's Journey, a breast cancer survivor's story of hope. Okay. And what I did is when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, throughout my life, even prior to getting breast cancer, I journaled. So I would write in a journal, like a diary, right? Almost. And when I was diagnosed, I thought, boy, this really needs to be documented. There was so much information coming at me from doctors, and we need to do this and this. I thought, I need to keep this straight. So I started writing it down. And that's how it started. I would write the date, I would write the doctor I saw, I would say, this is what they said to me. And I sort of, started documenting it like that. But then it grew into, now I'm in treatment, or I had my lumpectomy. How do I feel? I wrote down my feelings. Then I go into chemotherapy. What was that like? And I wrote about that. So it's a journey that chronicles my life, a year of my life. And I talk about my feelings. I talk about what I went through in that year, the support that I had. My husband writes in one of the chapters, because he's considered a co-survivor. He walked along with me. So he wrote about things he did right and what he did wrong and what he would do different next time. And hopefully there's not a next time. But, I talk about, second opinions, healthy lifestyle, all the treatments I had. I talk about the race, going to the race for the cure as a survivor and what that meant to me. And it's a good book. I then, at the end, just talk about my life lessons, what this taught me. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback. It got published in August of this year, 2022. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback from survivors, from men. A survivor just told me today, that she had read the book. I did not even know she was a survivor. It was one of a coworker of my husband's, and we were wondering, why'd she buy this book? I often wonder why certain people buy my book. So I asked them if they have a connection to breast cancer. And the book is for pretty much anybody, whether you're in treatment, currently in treatment, recently diagnosed, or into survivorship. Unfortunately, some women are never in survival, they're never cured. And that's what we call metastatic breast cancer. And that's a different story. That's a different story. And I've talked to those who have metastatic disease, and for them, there is no cure, and that they will live the rest of their life with breast cancer. And, that's something that could be a whole nother book, talking about metastatic disease, because that really needs to have some light shined on that as well.
Mm. That whole mental, emotional part of it is so very important.
That's right.
Some people, yeah, some people don't survive that news.
Right. And
Yeah.
that was, yeah, I mean, I went through, therapy, to, go through my emotions. I talked to other survivors. Like I said, a lot of my Komen family, they were survivors, and I reached out to them. Some of them were caregivers and understood that. And yeah, it's a roller coaster of emotions. I was very angry. I was very angry initially. I thought, what this is the irony. How ironic. Here I am working with an organization helping those with breast cancer. I was fundraising for these for the survivors and those with metastatic disease. I was doing all this work, and now I'm the breast cancer patient. I'm the one going through treatment. This race is about me. And I realized I what I realized is that I had no idea prior to getting breast cancer what I was really doing in this organization and what these women were going through. So in a way, I look back now and I say, I think I had to get breast cancer in order to really understand and to advocate, you know, for it and bring awareness. And a lot of people now know me here in the area, and contact me. I'm constantly being contacted by newly diagnosed patients, those who want to help their friends newly diagnosed, and, just talking through the treatments. Like I said, the hair loss was traumatic, for a woman that's so traumatic. And, going through that, and initially, I was just sad too. I was sad because there is breast cancer and that it can happen to anyone. And for me, that really made me sad, And when Katie Couric said, you don't, she didn't say why me, because Katie Couric just came out about 2 weeks ago that she had breast cancer. But what she said is, why not me? Why not me? Because it is so prevalent.
Hmm. Yeah. I have a relative of mine, which I just remembered now. She got cancer. I don't think it was breast cancer, but she was very resistant to remedies and treatment because she was angry. I could see it. I mean, I didn't see her much after that, during that because she wasn't in the island. But she came home near the end and she was angry. So she just didn't want to take anything. And so she would hide stuff, pretend to take it, and then hide it somewhere else. And she was really angry. So that mental, emotional thing, that part is really, really, really important. That support that you described that you got, that's
Absolutely. The
mm,
support, I can tell you, I write about it in my book, but when you get a diagnosis like this and it just sort of takes your breath away and you start sharing it with people and the goodness of the people, my family, friends, like I said, some people I didn't even know reaching out to me, it made me realize what I meant to people. Prior to that, you maybe think, people care about me, or I know I'm a good person or whatever, but I'm telling you, this diagnosis really made me realize what I meant to people, and that I was important in people's lives. And, once
yeah,
you start realizing these and these life lessons that I learned along the way, you don't take anything for granted, that's for sure. And, I felt bad that your friend was so angry for so long because, the anger will eat you up. And if you can look at it more as hopeful, and that's what I did. Hope is my word. I hung on to hope. Hope was woven through my whole story and my journey. Some
brilliant.
days that's all I had to hang on to was hope. That's all I could look at. I thought, I hope I get through this treatment. I hope I get through this day. I hope I get through this hour. Hope and my faith. My faith kept me strong. And, if you have that, and a pretty good attitude, that can make a difference. It really
All
can.
right. Yeah, definitely.
But about the angriness, who are they angry with?
So, I was initially, when I think back to the anger, well, you're just angry that you have cancer, right? You're angry that why did this happen to me? You do question that, even though you say, well, why can't it happen to me? But you're mad. Well, why? Nobody wants cancer, right? And so unfortunately, my husband took the brunt of my anger. When I was angry and I started losing my hair. One day I just couldn't handle it and I just started pulling out my hair because it was coming out in clumps and I was yelling, look at this, look at this. And I was throwing it at him. And I know that's very, that's not very nice, but that was my
Mhm.
anger. That was my anger. I was angry at some friends, you know, that weren't reaching out, that weren't talking to me, that sort of turned it away from me because you know what? They didn't know how to handle it. At the time, I didn't understand it, but now I look back and go, okay, they didn't understand or they didn't know what they could do. My husband says that too. He didn't know how to handle it, what to say. So he would just not say anything or retreat. And some of my friends did that. And some friends I've never seen from the day I was diagnosed. I never heard from them again, and I still have never heard from them. And yeah, that angered me too. Why would you turn away from somebody, your friend? I was there for you. Why weren't you here for me? But you know what? We don't know people's lives and what they're going through. And my anger fueled some positive things. Anger doesn't have to be negative. It fueled my advocacy work. When I was in treatment, I thought, you know what? I think I can be a voice. Let's turn this around. I can be a voice for those who maybe don't understand breast cancer or maybe are angry and need somebody to talk to. And that's just sort of how I handled it. And once you come into acceptance, I think it is better for you because anger, I know, will eat you up. It will eat you up, and there is no goodness in anger, unless you can turn it around.
Yeah, so true.
So
Okay,
have you
well,
been?
I have to get myself one of those books.
Well, I can tell you how to get one of the books.
Go ahead,
Well,
yeah.
you're in Jamaica, correct? You're in
Yes.
Jamaica.
Right. Uh-huh.
So you can go on Amazon. You can go on Amazon, and the name of the book is Josephine's
Yes,
Journey.
yeah, man.
Hmm. And then, and my name is Josephine M. Roach, because there's believe it or not, a couple of books entitled Josephine's Journey, but they're not, don't have anything to do with breast cancer. And my subtitle is A Breast Cancer Survivor's Story of Hope.
Okay. That's a nice
Okay.
subtitle, yes. The hope there make a difference.
Hope makes all the difference.
Yes.
Hope makes all the difference. Yes, it does.
Yeah, man, that's a big word.
It is a big
And
word, and
powerful.
yeah, it's powerful. And after I had just finished treatment, and the Cancer Institute in Detroit, the Carmanos Cancer Institute, has what's called the Heroes of Cancer, and they do it once a year. And I was one of, I don't remember how many, there was over 10 people. I was honored at the Heroes of Cancer, and again, the name of the award, Maureen Keenan Meldrum Hope Award. That's what was awarded to me. And Maureen Keenan Meldrum was the chair of the Komen Detroit Race for the Cure for, I believe, over 25 years. So it was an honor. They named this award after her. She gave it to me, and I have it right here on my desk. And I'll tell you, this was probably the most meaningful thing I've ever received um, for my work with cancer.
Yeah, congrats on that, man.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Oh yeah. Looks like you're a very hard worker.
Yes, in October it gets real busy, even though you know what, breast cancer is 12 months a year, but October they
Of
certainly
course.
keeps you busy.
Yes. So did you raise a lot of money in the walk?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Within just myself, Individually, I was the number one fundraiser, and I raised over, I believe it was $3,500. And then my team of over 50 people, we raised as a group $8,300. So I was the top team in fundraising.
Okay.
So we did raise a lot within the whole race itself. All the numbers aren't in yet. Our goal is $400,000 for the Detroit race. And with the money from sponsors, I believe we will hit that. So we're very happy to hit the goal of $400,000 in Detroit.
Okay. And who's this money going to?
So the money is going to research, and then it's also going to what I talked about earlier. Komen has a phone number you call. They have the nurse navigators that will see you through. From if you're having difficulties finding where to get a mammogram, and they will follow you through if you're diagnosed with breast cancer all the way through. And so that's a great program, that they're going to be with you, all the way through that.
Do you find that women in general are really up for this mammogram each year?
Well, that's a hard question because I have breast cancer. I'm pretty diligent about getting my yearly mammogram. Prior to me getting breast cancer and the years leading up to it, initially, way back, they changed the guidelines all the time. If there's no family history of breast cancer, right now they're saying, I believe it's the American Cancer Society says that you should get your first mammogram at age 40. When I was several years, way back when, the guidelines were you should get your first baseline mammogram at 35, and then if everything's fine, get the next one at 40, and then every year after. Well, I was not one of those back then when that was what the requirements or guidelines were. I did not get my mammogram until I was 40. So my first mammogram goes along with the guidelines now. I got my first mammogram, and I do come across people that say they don't get. I mean, I know somebody who her mother died of breast cancer, has never had a mammogram, and she comes to the race. She's on my team. She walks for breast cancer, but she will not go get a mammogram. And the reason why women hold off, and I'd like to also hold off on that, is because they don't like the way it feels. It's not, it's uncomfortable. And unfortunately, African American women are more likely to find their breast cancer at a later stage because sometimes they're putting off those mammograms, and those are the statistics. So when their breast cancer is found, it's later. That's just typically, and that's what's found in the statistics. So people do put it off. And now, because of this pandemic, I'm seeing now people have put it off. And I don't know when my breast cancer started growing. All I know, it was sometime within that year. I don't know when, though, within that year. So 6 months maybe can make a difference if you've put it off.
I did one a few years ago. It's horrible.
Well, it is. It's uncomfortable. And even as a breast cancer survivor, I have a lot of scar tissue from the surgery, the radiation, and one breast, on the right breast, that is when they go to smush it, that hurts. It is. It's very uncomfortable, but it only lasts not even a minute, right? And then they go on to the next breast. So a little bit of discomfort to save your life, to me, I think it's worth it, right? Get your screenings, get your colonoscopies, get your prostate exam, get the blood work you need, get a yearly physical. Prevention is key. Let's be more preventative, and that way we don't have to, have all these treatments.
But apart from October,
Pardon me?
Apart from October, the month of October, what happens the rest of the year? Is the word being put out aggressively?
I think October, there's a big spotlight on breast
Yes.
cancer awareness. I think anybody, unless you're living under a rock, knows that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I think they've done a wonderful job with that. The other months, yeah, we have to continue. I still continue my work with Komen. After the race, we don't just say see you next year. We continue to raise dollars. We're going to have a gala. We're going to have some other fundraisers moving forward into 2023. And we have to keep on having the conversation. I continually talk on the topic last year because we were in the pandemic. Once a month, I held a Zoom talk, and I talked about breast cancer awareness, talked a little bit about my story. And I did that once a month for 10 months last year. It was free. I had women join. I advertised on Facebook, and they, and I do know women that will tell me because they heard my story, they went and got their mammogram.
Oh, wonderful. So as we look to close the program, what parting words you can leave with the women of today, especially,
Well, as a woman, I would say know your body. Okay. So know your body. And if you notice any changes, like I said, in your body, in your breasts, any discharge, any different lumps, get to the doctor. All right. And, women's intuition goes a long way. Maybe that doctor might say to you, let's just keep an eye on it. Let's wait 6 months. And maybe your gut says, you know what? Go to a different doctor. It's your right. It's your body. This is your life. So take control of it. So be very conscious of your body, and and get yourself to a doctor. And then, of course, most importantly, right, get your yearly mammogram. It could save your life. It saved mine.
thank you very much. Can you just tell the listeners and viewers how to get your book again?
So there's two ways you can get my book. The first way is I have my own website. So that is https colon / Josephine's Journey. That's JOSEPHINES Journey .now dot site. That's my own personal website. So you just fill out the information. I have all modes of payment, and then I ship it because I have the books here on hand. I ship it right to you. The books are $19.99, and then shipping and handling, it comes to $23.95, I believe. And if you live out of the country, I recommend people just go to Amazon. If you get it from me, I autograph it. It's a little bit more personal. I have a very nice bookmark that I add. If you do that through Amazon, you're not gonna get those things.
Thank you.
And then I just want to also say that I am on all platforms. I'm on, Facebook at Josephine Fidei, Fidei Roach. I run my own support group out of Facebook called Where Hope Begins. That's HOPE, all in capitals, begins. There's a breast cancer support group on Facebook that I run. And then I am on LinkedIn as Josephine Roach, and on Instagram as Josephine Roach, ROACH Survivor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Anything else, Pam?
Just as this was very informative, very helpful, very hopeful.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Can't give out that
Always,
word.
always maintain hope. That's another message I'd like to give out there. Maintain hope throughout life. And I think hope will get you sometimes where you need to be. And that also things are doable. You get that initial diagnosis, understand that things are doable. You will get to the other side.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
thank you again.
This was good. This was good.
Excellent, yes.
Had its
Thank you
sad
again.
parts, but hopeful.
And
Hopeful.
Josephine,
Yeah.
I am Flavius. Courtney is not here today.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I am so sorry.
No problem, no problem.
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. You're not Courtney. You are right. Well, thank you for telling me that. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Flavius. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, being here and being inviting me onto the show.
Thank you very, very much.
Mhm.
And we will invite you again.
All right. Thank you. I will
Definitely.
come back definitely
Yes.
again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So see you next
Thank
time.
you.
All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, man. All right, Flavius.
You lead us to full. You belong far away away. Ajugwala lebobu seru. Lida sungfula. Lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me do what set me if it could flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night. Me have to get out of sight.